Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in today to the Inside Warrington podcast. And as you can see, we're one of the most trendiest places in Warrington right now, and one of the newest, which is Bold Street House. And we're with Jen. How are you doing, Jen?
I'm good, thank you.
Nice to have you on the show. So Jen, Bold Street House in the heart of the cultural quarter and the heart of Warrington. But tell us a little bit about yourself. So obviously your accent isn't from good old Wazza. It's definitely not from around here. So talk us through that. Where are you from?
I'm from the east coast of Scotland.
Okay.
We have a beef farm up in St Andrews, well, just outside St Andrews. But I left there to go to university in Edinburgh and ended up then going for a year around the world travelling.
Oh, really?
Which is where my story starts.
Oh, okay. So what sort of age was that you sort of ventured outside of Scotland?
So I did 4 years at university, and then I would have been, it was for my 21st, I got a round the world ticket.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that June we went off and did a year of travelling. And when I was in Australia, I fell in love with Melbourne and a company there called Espresso Elements, where I was running a wholesale coffee business.
Oh, right, okay.
And they offered to sponsor me to go back and work for them full time. So I was sponsored and worked there for 2.5 years.
So you stayed in Australia?
Stayed in Australia.
What was that like?
Came back and then went back there. Absolutely amazing.
Living the
Incredible
dream.
lifestyle, yeah.
Good.
38 hours a week, lots of sunshine. Yeah, it's lovely.
It's all right,
Lots
isn't
of
it?
pay.
And what made you come back from Australia? Was it here that you came back from Australia? Or?
Yeah, came back to Liverpool from Australia, and we had just decided, as lovely as Australia was, we knew we were never going to live there for good. And all our friends were starting to get married and have kids, and we didn't want to get to the 10-year point, come back here and have missed all of those big moments in all of our friends' lives. So moved back to Liverpool and got a great job with Loungers, so Dorado Lounge in Golden Square. And I worked with them for just about 7 years, worked my way up from assistant manager at Auto Lounge in Heswell up to regional manager, where I was covering 40 odd sites, sort of everything north of Bristol. So that was a really incredible job.
Wow. So hospitality's always been part of your journey. What was it that you studied at university?
Human resource management.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so not anything that I've ever used.
See, that's
it's come
like
in
me.
handy for being a manager, but it's not anything I've ever used.
Exactly like me. So I did music at university, but ended up in financial services.
Yeah.
So again,
That's what you do.
I think it's one of those things, isn't it? You think, right, I'm definitely going to do this in my career. You know, got my heart set on it, and then you look back and you think, where did it go wrong?
It was great for the experience and the people I met and just general life experience.
Yeah.
But no, I've not used any of it.
Good.
But it's been great.
So hospitality, living the dream in Australia, came back, worked for a sort of national chain, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what point did you get in your career that you were working for somebody else, you were managing 40 sites, like you said, and then thought, actually, I want to give a stab at this myself. I want to do my own thing.
It's something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to have my own bar. And when I met Loungers and got my career there, it almost, that bug disappeared, because I opened about 36 sites with them over the course of the years. So that sort of bug of doing the openings and training new teams, and I got that from them. But I got quite tired of the travelling, covering everything north of Bristol. I was away staying in Birmingham or the East Mids 2 or 3 nights a week, and I was on the M6 sitting in those 50s day in, day out. And it just got to the point where I wasn't enjoying it, and I didn't want to fall out of love with the company, because I just think they're a fantastic company. So at that point, I decided to come back and just take the Manchester patch. So I was looking after 10 sites in Manchester. And it was actually the managing director said to me, what's next? And we had a pretty frank conversation about the fact that I didn't want to move to Bristol, which is where there was the next job out with being a regional manager again, which I didn't want to do. And he said, what else would you do? And I said, I'd probably open my own business. And he said, why don't you? And I said, because I'm a bit terrified. I've got a great job with a great salary. And he said, well, what's the worst that can happen? You open a business, it fails, you lose a load of money and come back and ask for your job back. And I was like, yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. So it was at that point that we started looking for properties. And just decided just to go for it. Yeah, my mum was very much for it, because she has done it herself, and my dad's much more sensible head. You think of your salary and your bonuses and what you'll lose, and but both of them were incredibly supportive. And
so they got their own businesses as well.
Yeah, my dad's a farmer, so he runs a farm, and mum's a clinical trial auditress. She goes all over the world.
All right, okay.
Yeah, she does a lot.
So I suppose really they've been help really. So as you've been growing up, you've seen them put in the 60, 70, 8-hour weeks and spent time away from home. So kind of give you that catalyst to go and do it yourself.
Yeah.
So picking the property, thinking, I know one of the hardest things is to try and find somewhere to open a business. Is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? But you're never going to know know until you open. So I think this used to be an old curtains and blinds and windows sort of shop.
Yeah, it was Window Dreams.
And that's the one. So if you're in Warrington and you know a bit of history, you've probably been in here at some point with a relative. But what was this? What was the deciding factor for here?
Well, initially we actually started looking in Stockton Heath. We live at the Stockton Heath side of Warrington and spent a lot of our weekends and evenings there.
Yeah.
Loved it. But the more people we spoke to and the more research we did, we figured that Stockton Heath at some point was going to reach capacity. It's a great little hub and it's got its own little bubble, but there's a lot of bars and restaurants which are now actually turning over quite quickly. And we didn't really use Warrington as much as we probably should have, and just decided, well, actually, why don't we start looking in Warrington where the rates are a bit cheaper, the rents are a bit cheaper, the buildings are a bit cheaper, and actually invest something in the town, because over the last 2 years of living here, it's really evident that the council are starting to really put some money in. We knew Times Square was coming.
Yeah.
And I just think, having moved in and made the decision to live in Warrington, it's really important to support the local economy. And Stockton Heath's, reaching capacity. So I think we then made the decision, actually, let's not go for Stockton Heath, let's go into town.
Yeah, let's move into the town centre.
And this came up as a lease property. We looked at it. It was the very first property we looked at, but it was for lease, and we just decided there was too much work that needed done to it to take it on as a lease.
Yeah.
So we walked away from it, had a look around another few properties, and then the owner came back to us and said, would you consider buying it?
Yeah.
And so we did, put an offer in that day.
Very good.
And got it.
So, Jen, you made the decision to buy the premises, and what was that kind of project like? I mean, who did you have to get involved to make sure it's turned out the way it has done?
There was quite a big process in the buying stage because we needed to make sure we could get a licence and planning permission. So we were really, really lucky that the seller was as open to our time constraints as she was. The planning took maybe 15 or 16 weeks.
Yeah.
So she was waiting all that time for it to go through, and we had to get the licence approved, and we had to get building regs in to make sure that the fire doors would be sufficient. We had to get a structural engineer in to make sure that we could strengthen the floors well enough, with the access we had to downstairs. So it was a pretty massive process before we could even, go ahead and actually purchase the building. But we had a lot of help from local people, local businesses that have done it. There was a lot of people out there that were willing to help us. And the council made it surprisingly easy. It was really helpful, yeah.
Good, that's always always nice to hear. So when you acquired the bar, not the bar, the building, how long did it take you to get from renovating it all and getting it ready to launch?
We got the keys on the 1st of May and we opened on the 12th of September. So it was quite a long process, but there was a lot of building structural work we needed to do. Mike and I went down to London for 4 weeks to do a cocktail diploma, so that sort of, although the building was ongoing, it probably put us back 4 weeks where we could have been. And then just things took longer than it would, if you've done it 3 or 4 times. I didn't have suppliers set up, so there was just that. We just really enjoyed that sort of 6 months of, I wasn't working at that point. I'd left Loungers because I didn't want my head to be half here, and I knew there was no way I'd be focusing on there. We'd been in London. So it was a really nice sort of 4-month period of doing and 2-month period of just getting settled in and opening, and then the run up to Christmas. It was really lovely.
And do you think it was easier having the experience that you've had opening bars and restaurants in an employed role, that when it came to your own, was it kind of, water off the duck's back, or did you really feel the pressure of trying to open this?
The actual process of opening didn't frighten me at all. Like, we'd done it so many times, and I feel like when you're doing it for someone else, there's always more pressure because it's their money and it's their business that you have to get right. We had teams of 20 or 30 people coming in. We had chefs to train. We had people from all over to coordinate. Whereas for us here, it was just us. It was Mike and I and a couple of others, and then our 4 bartenders. So it was
walking the bar.
There was more to coordinate because I had never had to choose furniture before, or choose which rums to have, or things like that I hadn't really thought of having to choose. But in terms of the opening, and the putting together and the getting the big orders in, that was just something that we'd done 100 times before. It was really cool.
But it makes it look easy. So in creating Bold Street House, did you have a vision in mind as to what the bar would look like, the interior design? Is there any bars that you took inspiration from?
I think in terms of the ideas of the food and the drinks, definitely. While we were travelling, because I'd always known I wanted to do this, I just have a little journal at home, or where every bar I go to, if we've really enjoyed it, we all take notes about the best things about it. My mum does it as well. Everywhere we go, the best nibbles we've eaten, the best food. We've got a group on WhatsApp that we all share the best bar nibbles and the best cocktails. The best features in bars, the best seats we've sat on. So there was things like that where I already had in my head a sort of concept, and I've got a business plan that I wrote probably 12, 14 years ago for what my menu would be, and that was the menu we opened with, almost exactly.
There's no compromising.
I just knew right from day one sort of these things. I used to have a sort of little mini catering company that I did nibbles and things for parties, and a lot of them were big hits, and so we just sort of thought that's where it'll start, and then we'll just develop on from there. And we added the lunches, the cocktails. We wanted to do a sort of really classic twists on really good classics until we knew what sort of bartenders we could get. I didn't know whether we would get really great bartenders in Warrington.
Yeah.
So we kept it quite classic and simple to start with, and then when we got the boys we did, we were just massively lucky, and they've been fantastic. So we've now managed to start evolving that.
Create some real identity for you guys being in here. So you got a business partner called Mike. Mm-hmm. So when this place was being created and you sat him down and said, listen, 14 years ago I've created the menu, I've created this and I've created that, was there any locked heads where he wanted to change any of it? Or did he just sit back and go, listen, that's what you want to do, we'll go with it? Yeah,
we've worked together for so long. I think we started working together maybe 5 or 6 years ago when Mike was brand new to the company. He moved from Nottingham to Kettering, and then Kettering up here to be in our team in Manchester. So he's worked for me for a very long time, so he knows I'm not all that open to negotiation.
Good.
But no, we just work really well as a pair. His strengths are my weaknesses, my strengths are his, so we complement each other quite well.
Good. And what is it you look after more, and what is it that Mike looks after more?
Mike's probably more operational. He'll be on the floor, doing things, training staff, doing things like that, whereas I'm much more back of house. I'll run, I do all that. Feel like he's more of a general manager.
Yeah.
I run the business side of things, do all the accounts, do the payroll, hold the team meetings.
Yeah.
That side of things.
Good. And today, as we're sat in Boltry House, is actually your 6 month of training.
6 months, yeah, 6 months today.
It's gone fast.
That's gone really
honestly,
fast.
It feels like
it's flown by.
Yesterday since we first started talking with the Buyers Club, telling you what we're doing and how we can work together in Warrington. But 6 months, I'm sure it's been a bit of a learning curve. Is there anything that has been significant that you've learned, or maybe anything that you've thought, if we could do it all again, we'd have done it something slightly different? Or with your experience, you both had it pretty much nailed down?
Yeah, we've not really had too many big challenges. There's bits and pieces that I would do in a different order. I think I was so organised up until the last 3 or 4 weeks when everything then had to happen really quickly. We couldn't order a lot of things until right at the last minute.
Yeah.
So this time I would know, when to start scheduling all of that in a bit better. But no, generally, if we did it again, I'm fairly happy with the process that we had this time round.
Good. And I suppose where you're situated in the cultural quarter, it has bars, it has restaurants, but some might think that it houses a lot of competition. So if you're going out on a Saturday night, there's so many places to choose from. But definitely now in the cultural quarter, it feels more of a community feel. What's your take on that? Do you feel like there is competition, or do you think that Warrington's going through this phase where actually people are starting to work together, then looking over the shoulders at someone's dropping their prices or they're changing this? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think we're in a pretty lucky place in the cultural quarter in that everybody's trying to attract the same sort of people, which sounds crazy because you think the more people that are trying to attract the same people, the more competition there would be. But actually, so many people in Warrington had sort of given up on Warrington. They either go to Stockton-Heath or Liverpool or Manchester because they're all so close. That actually the more places we get around the cultural quarter that are similar, that bring in the same sort of people, the more people there are to go around. We didn't used to come into Warrington, even though the restaurants were great, because there wasn't somewhere to go for a great drink and you couldn't go to the cinema. And once you go to the Trafford Centre for the cinema, you would just stay there and have food. Whereas now, you go to Las Ramblas or Grill and Square for dinner, you go up to the terrace, or you come here for drinks. You've got Emily's. There's just quite a nice little culture here of people coming out and being able to go around more than one bar.
Yeah.
So no, for us, as long as we are top of our game, the more people that come in, if we could get some more little bistros and some more lovely little independent cocktail bars, I think the more people will keep coming.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's an element of support now in Warrington where people are actively engaging with local businesses, and it's nice to see that people are investing their hard-earned money and in time like you have and Mike has to create this space in Warrington that people can be really proud of.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of headaches that you probably both go through on a day-to-day basis. I know you've only been open 6 months, but is there anything at the moment you think, I love doing this job, but I really can't be bothered doing this one anymore?
Not yet. We're still in the honeymoon phase yet, where it's all still quite exciting and new, but of course, there's all the mundane ordering and cleaning and, you know, just the jobs that have to be done that we can't compromise on. It's easy after a big, tough Friday night, Saturday night shift to not want to scrub the floors and the skirting boards. But you just can't risk that customer coming in first thing on a Saturday or Sunday morning and it just not being perfect, because it's just one of my pet hates when you go into a bar and you can tell it's the weekend. So yeah, service is absolutely our favourite bit. Meeting customers, you know, we get such lovely customers around here. We don't, you know, luckily so far we've had no issues with customers. We don't have people that we don't really please. People come in and seem to like what we do. I think because of the area we're in, we attract the sort of customers we want to be attracting that like what we do. And so most of it is still really, really great fun.
Yeah, so it's all positive from all aspects, I suppose, from you guys. I was going to lead into that with customer. You know, sometimes it's not, you can't please everyone. I mean, what are you guys doing to combat anyone that does come in and is unhappy? Or I mean, I don't think you found that.
So far, no. We've had a couple of reviews where people have said that, you know, we're not competing with San Lorenzo and we don't have a dessert menu, and that's not really what we're trying to be. We're not trying to be a restaurant. We're not trying to take the place of San Lorenzo. We're a completely different offering. And I think if we keep focusing on service, which has always been my big thing, if you can do service really, really well, it doesn't matter what sort of person comes in here, they will either enjoy the cocktail or the food, or if they don't enjoy the food, they'll enjoy the service aspect that they get, and we sort the food. But no, so far, touch wood, we've had nobody that's had any issues.
Good. So and it'd be nice, this area as well, if we met up again in 2-3 years time. I'm sure it'd look completely different to what it is now, as it always is. But if there are people that are listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube that maybe were in the hospitality industry thinking, I'd love to own my own bar, what sort of advice would you give to them, or what tips would you give to them?
I think this is probably a really good time to start investing in Warrington. I think give it another 18 months, 2 years, Warrington will be back in that sort of hype that it was 3 or 4 years ago, where everybody was out, you know, all through the week and the weekends were really buzzing. I think town did take a bit of a hit, but it's clear that the council and the bid committee and everybody is putting a massive amount of work into Warrington, even the things that you guys yourselves are doing. I think now is the time to be investing in Warrington, and the more local people that do invest, you know, the better it's going to get for everyone.
I totally agree, and especially with all the new housing developments in and around the town centre, all the new flats and the redevelopment of the old buildings across Bridge Street.
It's going to be great for business.
I think it's going to be a great and exciting time for Warrington that everyone should get behind. So Jen, what's the future hold? Bold Street House, 6 months has passed quickly. Where do you see things going for you guys?
For now, we're just focusing on here. Since we opened, we've attempted twice or decided twice we were going to start something else, and then both times been like, no, just hold back. I think for now we just want to get another 3 or 4 months under our belt and just do this really, really well. It's been massive for all of us, just starting our own place and doing something completely different. So we just want to get that fixed, sorted, and really enjoy doing it for a little while. But we definitely have a plan for maybe not another cocktail bar, but a bistro or a deli or 2 or 3 things in the same sort of area. But just all offering something slightly different.
Any different themes or a similar theme to this place?
I think we'll be trying to attract the same sort of customers, but not competing with ourselves. So open a little bistro that will complement here, or open a wee deli more for lunch that will complement here and everyone else. So I would rather stay close. I don't want to spread ourselves too thin where we then have to start me being in one town and Mike being in another town, and I'd rather we could all just manage it together, same staff, and just do what we do really well.
Good. Sounds really interesting. It sounds positive, and it's great to see, you know, that there's a lot of optimism in Warrington, and you guys are driving it forward. So one thing that we're asking all of our listeners is, what do you love about Warrington?
I think my favourite thing about Warrington just now is just the positivity and enthusiasm that local people have for the town just now. Like, it's great to see people starting to come back in. Lots of people that had given up on Warrington that we now see every weekend that are just really excited to be able to come and use their local town.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, circles of friends, default to get the train to Liverpool or Manchester. And I think we're starting to see a paradigm shift now with those people spending the money the weekend in the cities are staying local, which means that businesses can grow, the town can grow, and people have got something to be really excited about. So Jen, listen, I've taken up enough of your time today. 6 months have been a blast for you guys. I wish you all the best for the next 6 months. And I'm hoping that we can come back in and have a chat again further down the line. So if anyone's been watching today and they are a Buyers Club member, you'll know that if you go into your app, Bold Street House are a proud partner of ours. So if you come into here, you'll get 10% off your bill. Have a look at the terms and conditions and some flash sales that they have been running throughout the year. And we'll check back with you guys in a couple of weeks.